Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy, the Anime Ambo here, coming back at you with part 32 of What If Naruto Was Like Minato, otherwise known as Return of the Flash on Wattpad. If you want to read the story for yourself, link is in the description. Also, the link to the Discord server is also in the description. If you would like to join that, you will be able to receive notifications on videos being recorded, uploaded, what series I'm going to post next, the schedule, things of that nature. You'll also be able to have some input on future series. We have a vote going on right now about whether or not I'm going to do a new series or not. Yeah, so that's the Discord people. So, first thing on the agenda to talk about, there's only a few things. I'm going to try to keep this quick. This series and the What If Naruto Abandoned Konoha will be, alternating daily. So, those will be alternating daily. So, this will come out not tomorrow, but the next day after it comes out today, right? However, the What If Naruto Went Rogue series, that series is going to be put on a little hold/hiatus. Sorry about that. I apologize. I know it only went to episode 1. But we're trying to figure certain things out. Also, the What If Obito Got a Second Chance series. You guys hit the like goal. The like goal was 10 likes. I don't know if I specified that, but you hit it. So that series will be coming out either today or tomorrow. So expect that sometime soon. Also, we are very close to 500 subscribers. I believe we're at like 490, 495, something of that nature. So if you are here to see this video, please, I do advocate for this. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We post daily. We are on the grind right now to whatever. I don't really know. We're just kind of grinding, posting daily for you guys. That's basically what I'm doing. Editing, crunching out these videos so that you guys can enjoy them for your enjoyment. Yes, and also if you watch that little movie, let me know if you like that format. I'm going to probably do it for the rest of them, maybe every 5 episodes or so. I'm not sure yet, but yeah, so without further ado, like, comment, subscribe. I respond to all comments, heart all comments. I like all comments. I really do appreciate them. I really do, honestly. That's why I like to respond to them. And yeah, also turn on post notifications so that you get notified whenever I post or upload a video of a series that you like, or any type of video, maybe a new series in the future. So yeah, without further ado, this is your boy, the Anime Ambu, and cue the intro. Naruto sighed in mild irritation as he spun his kunai in his fingers almost lazily, sitting on his bed in the hotel room he and Jiraiya had rented for the night. This was supposed to be a small stop in the town until Jiraiya had spotted a pretty young woman who had winked at him. Almost immediately, Jiraiya waved him off and to go find a hotel room for the night while he gathered some information. Naruto snorted. He knew damn well Jiraiya was following after the woman from earlier like a lovesick puppy, and he thought that this was an urgent mission. Still, there was something that Naruto had noticed when the woman had winked at Jiraiya. First off, Jiraiya wasn't even that good looking. He was just an old man in his 50s. No sane young woman would so much as even look in his direction, the way that woman did earlier. Second, the woman was pretty. Pretty isn't above average pretty. She wore a strapless dress that was designed to show off her well-endowed chest and long legs, along with high heels. She could have gotten any man, but she went straight for Jiraiya. She didn't even glance at any other man that were standing in the lobby with them. That was another thing that rang alarm bells in his mind. Also, it looked as if that woman was dressed to entice or seduce somebody. Unless she was heading out for a date, that too alone, why would a woman dress up to entice Jiraiya? Also, Jiraiya had been correct in regarding that he would attract female attention. As soon as they entered the town, whenever they would pass by a girl close to his age, she would blush and giggle. It was slightly confusing and scary, to be honest. One brave girl was enough to even come to him and ask if he wanted to spend some time with her and her friends. He had barely kept from freaking out, and Jiraiya had just walked off somewhere, leaving him alone to deal with the girl. Thankfully, Naruto was able to gently let her down by using the classic excuse. He was there to train with his master, and the time for training was drawing close. The girl had been visibly disappointed, but he understood. Surprising him, she had whispered an address in his ear, telling that if he was free, he was allowed to come over there, and she kissed him on the cheek before leaving. Who the hell kisses random strangers on the cheek? Before Naruto could think up on this any further, the knock on his door snapped him out of his thoughts. His eyes narrowed as he sensed 2 large chakra signatures outside his door. One, astoundingly enough, a bit larger than his own. The other one he sensed was shockingly similar to his teammate Sasuke. There was no way he was going to get the answer. He was going to answer the door himself. His danger sense was ringing alarm bells in his head. He soundlessly created a shadow clone who began to move towards the door. His footsteps were loud enough for Naruto to cover his own as he flipped out the window. He knew that whoever was outside wouldn't be fooled by it, but it would have to do. He doubted that they were here to just say hello. He would have flashed over to Jiraiya to get him, but that idea had a risk. First of all, if he suddenly flashed in the middle of a crowd and disappeared with a person, it would cause panic. Yet not happening. Looks like I would have to give him a noticeable sign to arrive here. Naruto thought as he flipped up to the roof and headed to the window at the end of the corridor. Naruto, the shadow clone, opened the door and found himself looking up into a pair of fully matured Sharingan. His first thought was Sasuke, but then his thought proceeded to kick in. First, this guy was taller than him. Sasuke was about 4 inches shorter than this man. Second, his hairstyle was different. He had tear troughs under his eyes. Third, he wore a Konoha Hitayate, which was slashed, indicating he was a missing nin. Yep, he was facing Uchiha Itachi. Shit, I never thought I would have to meet Uchiha Itachi of all people. The clone thought as he diverted his eyes from the Sharingan to Itachi's forehead. He carefully kept his face blank of any emotion. To think this boy contains the Kyuubi, came a voice from beside Itachi as a very distinct figure came into view. The man was taller than Jiraiya, and he had very obvious blue skin and shark-like features, such as facial markings that resembled fish gills. He was also carrying a large bandage blade. His clothing matched Itachi's, a long black cloak with red clouds on it. He was also wearing a slashed Kiri Hitayate, making him a missing link. Unless I'm mistaken, which is a very low chance. Oh, sorry, wrong voice. Unless I'm mistaken, which is a very low chance, this guy's a former member of the Seven Swordsmen of the Mist. And what's the deal with his chakra? It's almost as big as Prime's, maybe even bigger. And they know about Kurama, so I can guess they're here for him. Naruto-kun, you're coming with us, Itachi said in a monotone as he gazed at his target. He was not expecting Naruto to look like this at all. No, he wasn't talking about how he was gazing at a literal carbon copy of the Yondaime. He was talking about Naruto's stature. He was expecting a genin, a 12 to 13-year-old. Naruto looked like he was almost 15 and not a genin at all. Instead, Naruto's posture did not portray fear. Wait, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, I lost it. Where am I? Did not portray any fear or anxiety. Any of the fear or anxiety one might have had when facing an S-rank criminal. He was smart, for he immediately averted his eyes to his forehead. The posture was straight and very carefully guarded. Itachi might have thought he was relaxed, even if not for the barely noticeable tensing of shoulders and the subsequent clenching of fists. Naruto stared hard at Itachi. Why? Let's go outside the room, Itachi opted to say. He watched in silent approval as Naruto carefully stepped out of the room, keeping him and Kisame in his sights. He came to stand in front of them, keeping his feet slightly apart and his hands at his side. Naruto had no intention of running, for Prime should be here any moment. His job was only to distract, so he began to talk. Why do I have the honor of meeting Uchiha Itachi and a former member of the Seven Swordsmen of the Mist? If Itachi was shocked, he didn't show it because he was damn good at hiding his emotions. People found blank walls easier to read instead of him. Kisame, however, grinned. Ah, smart one, aren't you? Naruto just folded his hands across his chest and gave the Sharkman a dry look. I don't need to be smart in order to label you as one of the Seven Swordsmen. Your giant sword gives it away, not to mention the slashed Hitayate. Kisame turned to Itachi. Itachi-san, it would be a bother to us if this kid keeps moving around. Perhaps I should chop off his legs. Naruto didn't even look the least bit disturbed at the threat. In fact, I dare you try. Kisame chuckled and slowly moved forward, clutching the handle of his sword. Your bravado is amusing, but you must be a fool if you think you can withstand and win against me. Itachi watched as Kisame closed onto Naruto. Something was wrong here, he thought. Naruto looked like he won't be making a move anytime soon. He was relaxed, too relaxed. Move, Kisame! The command was spoken softly, but it still carried power and urgency. Kisame heard it and was barely able to move in time, for Naruto glowed and exploded with a bang, blasting the walls in any area near him. I thought he didn't want to cause mass panic. Okay. Meanwhile, Naruto heard the bang and smirked from his position outside the window of the corridor. The explosion was something he hadn't taken into account, but it wasn't a bad thing either. The clone's job was only to distract the newcomers, but this works as well. A good thing the entire floor was empty. He would go through the memories later. Itachi and Kisame stared at the spot where the clone used to be, exploding Kage Bunshin. Itachi whispered in the slightest wonder. It looked like Naruto was smarter than he previously thought, and very perceptive too. He had known the danger of them and had a shadow clone answer in his place. They had been talking to a shadow clone all this time. Kisame gave a grunt in irritation as he looked at his slightly burnt hand. It had been way too close. Looks like the Jinchuriki's gonna be more trouble than we thought. He muttered as he healed the burn with his chakra. Itachi, on the other hand, was thinking what this could mean. Naruto was obviously not here, he was out, and had left a shadow clone in his place to keep guard. That or Naruto had somehow known they were coming and had gone to get Jiraiya. But they both jumped a bit sideways, letting a bolt of red lightning pass in between them and collapse a wall on the end of the corridor to splinters. Itachi and Kisame turned their heads to see the real Naruto standing behind them, right hand extended and the other holding a kunai. Naruto smirked at the look on their face, more like the look on Kisame's face. Itachi's was as blank as an empty paper. Kisame was baring his sharp teeth in annoyance. I can't believe you fell for that. Kisame did not like... Oh, I can't believe you fell for that. That's what Naruto said, sorry. Sometimes I miss it. Apparently, Kisame did not like that mock at all. So 1 second he was standing beside Itachi, the other he was right in Naruto's personal space, sword ready to cut him. The power behind the strike was enough to shatter a wall to pieces, and would have sliced Naruto in half. Keywords, would have. Kisame did not know of Naruto's danger sense that he possessed, nor the slower perception that was granted by it. Naruto's danger sense rang loudly, and the world had slowed down for Naruto as soon as Kisame had taken a step towards him. Naruto had watched in slow motion as Kisame flew towards him. He would have to give credit to the guy, for he was almost as fast as Kakashi with the blade, so he was right in front of Naruto in only a second. Oh, neither Itachi nor Kisame knew of the marking Naruto had put on the other end of the corridor as a safety precaution. Kisame shattered part of the wall behind him, or in front of him with Samehada. He'd intended to cut off the legs of the brat so he couldn't run anymore, but to his shock, he wasn't even standing in front of him. Over here, slowpoke. Kisame whirled around to see Naruto nonchalantly leaning on the wall on the opposite side of the corridor. Even Itachi couldn't conceal his surprise as his eyes were wide as well. Kisame's wide eyes reflected his thoughts clearly. How the hell did he move so fast? I didn't even see him coming. Or I didn't even see him moving. Itachi's thoughts were a bit more sophisticated than his partner's. While it was a bit much to cut off Naruto's legs, it would certainly make their job easier. He had thought that Kisame had gotten Naruto with that strike, but he had dodged it. Not only that, but it looked like he barely put any effort into it. Even with the Sharingan, he hadn't been able to track Naruto's movements. And that was speaking something, since his Sharingan was of the highest evolution. That was the speed Naruto had so nonchalantly pulled off. All he had seen was a tiny, almost unnoticeable flash of neon blue. It was almost like he teleported. Itachi's train of thought was brought to a sudden stop. Surely not. He couldn't have mastered that jutsu. There's no way. Kisame slowly walked back to where Itachi was standing. His face cleared of shock from earlier. He could see the look on Itachi's face that even he hadn't seen the boy move. He slowly grinned in excitement. This might be a challenge after all. It's been a long time, Sasuke. Oh, snap. I'm gonna make this one a little bit longer for you guys. We'll go like 20, 25 minutes. Naruto may act playful on the outside, but inside he was all business. The sword he had felt as if it wasn't just taking his life. There was some sort of pull in that sword, and Naruto had flashed away before it could make contact. Seemingly it could take chakra of its opponents. Also, Jiraiya should have reached here by now. He caused 2 explosions large enough for Jiraiya to come here as fast as he could. He had... Is it going still? Okay, good. Alright, he had activated his sensing, and he was sensing Jiraiya closing in fast. However, he sensed another person that caused a pit in his stomach to form. Why the hell was he here? That's where we cut. It's been a long time, Sasuke. Naruto watched with narrowed eyes as a small hint of annoyance as he noticed Sasuke standing between the 2 missing nin. Kisame turned around to glance at the newcomer as well. Who? Sasuke represented the classic picture of a guy wanting revenge. form straight, legs spread slightly apart, hands at side, hair shadowing in front of his face. When he glanced up, Naruto could see it. The Sharingan was blazing, and the burning hate in those eyes was unmistakable. Uchiha Itachi. Sasuke was trembling and raged as he gazed at his older brother. When he found out that his brother was in the village courtesy of a loose-lipped Jonin, looking for Naruto of all people, his blood nearly turned to ice. He knew Naruto was strong, very strong for his age, strong enough that he would be promoted straight to Jonin. But his brother was in another league entirely. No matter how powerful Naruto was, Itachi would utterly destroy them. He had immediately set off in pursuit of his teammate. It was fortunate that the old man at Ichiraku was kind enough to tell him that Naruto had left the village with Jiraiya, the Toad Sage and one of the legendary Sani. That popped a question in Sasuke's head as to just what Naruto was doing traveling with one of the most powerful shinobi in the world. Nevertheless, he had ruthlessly pushed the question at the back of his head. Concern for his teammate had overridden his logic, not to mention the rage smoldering inside him at the piece of news that Itachi came for Naruto and not him. He had immediately run off to the closest town, counting on the fact that they hadn't gotten far if they had only set off 2 hours earlier. It had taken him only a half hour of running close to full speed to arrive at the nearest town. He had then stopped for a quick breather for 5 minutes before resuming his search for Naruto and Jiraiya. After 15 minutes, he was ready to pull his hair out when suddenly a loud explosion sounded not too far away from where he was. He had turned to see one of the inn's upper floors exploded outwards. It had been fleeting, but he was able to catch the distinct red lightning that Naruto used, and he immediately rushed over there. He wasn't disappointed at the sight that met his eyes. Naruto was certainly there, confidently leaning against the wall and facing two people whose backs were facing him. One was a ridiculously tall man holding a large bandaged sword that reminded Sasuke of Zabuza's sword. The other one, it had been a long time, Sasuke. Sasuke's blood boiled at the painfully familiar voice. The same voice that he had loved hearing, and the same voice that had advised him to hate him, to gain power, to kill him one day. The same voice that had slaughtered his parents, his entire clan without an ounce of mercy. Uchiha Itachi. His vision went red with rage as it started to cloud his mind. This was the day he had been waiting for so long, the day that he would finally kill Itachi and avenge his clan. Naruto could see the rage that was beginning to cloud Sasuke, as any and all sense of rationality seemed to leave him as soon as he caught sight of Itachi. He frowned. There was no way Sasuke was ready to take on Itachi. The S-class missing Nana has current power. Even Naruto knew that he would only last 1 or 2 minutes, after which the ex-Anbu captain would finish him off, Flying Thunder God or not. Sasuke, control yourself! You can't beat him! Even Naruto knew that it was wrong to say, but frankly, he had nothing else that he could say to stop Sasuke at his point. He could only hope Sasuke would regain his rationality. Stay out of this, Naruto! Maybe not. He watched with wide eyes at what happened next. Sasuke screamed in an utter fury rage unlike anything Naruto had ever seen before. It was as if Sasuke was screaming his soul out, willing that Itachi burst into flames on the very spot. He watched in befuddlement as Sasuke burst into a sprint towards Itachi, in the latter's complete lack of caring that his brother was running at him with lightning aimed at his heart. Naruto slowly fell into a loose stance as Itachi just grabbed Sasuke's wrist, seemingly without even trying, and redirected the Chidori's power towards his side, causing the explosion in the hallway. Sasuke struggled to get out of Itachi's hold as the power of his jutsu died out. Naruto weighed his options. He couldn't use a jutsu, for there was a low chance that he wouldn't hit Sasuke. Oh well, no one ever said everything could be solved with jutsu. 8 shuriken went sailing across the air, approaching the enemy shinobi with deadly accuracy. Kisame just snorted and he used his large sword to simply bat away the shuriken. Naruto glanced at Naruto for the attack, and Sasuke took this chance to once more attack his brother. Why you? You're annoying. The statement was so dismissive that Naruto felt that Itachi was simply dealing with an annoying housefly, not a person hell-bent on killing him. Also, following the statement was the clean snapping sound of Sasuke's wrist breaking. Naruto sighed in annoyance as Sasuke screamed in pain and bent over, clutching his broken wrist. This really might set back all the progress he had made with the Lord of Evil. Kisame suddenly ran forward, intending to land another strike on Naruto. Naruto brought his kunai up, ready to dodge or block. Before he could do either, smoke burst in front of him as a toad appeared, blocking the sword with a 4-limb guard. Naruto didn't drop his guard as he spoke to his savior. You sure took your sweet time coming here, Sensei. Jiraiya arrived on the scene from the window at Naruto's end of the corridor. One leg propped up on a sill while the other was flat on the ground, carrying the body of an unconscious woman. The same woman Naruto had seen earlier. He muttered in annoyance. You couldn't have left her in the room or something? Jiraiya clearly heard this but ignored it as he set the girl down and walked up to stand beside Naruto. "Don't be like that, Naruto. My timing was perfect." Turning to two missing nin, he pointed his finger at them. "Nice try, but a distraction like that could never work on me." "It did though, didn't it?" Naruto whispered to the old man, and only to receive a harsh nudge to his ribs. He wisely backed off, letting Jiraiya handle this. However, he was surprised when Jiraiya was about to engage the two. Sasuke got up and snarled, "Itachi is mine!" He shot forward to try and catch his brother off guard. Of course, like the time before that, his ass was handed to him right back. Naruto watched with an impassive face as Sasuke was abused like nobody's business, with Itachi not holding back on him at all. Kisame saw this and grinned. "You don't seem too concerned about your teammate, Naruto-san." Naruto had to bite back the instinctual response of that. It was Sasuke's own stupidity that he was being beaten like that. Did he really think he was as strong as Asami, who were among the only few people in the world who could match Itachi? Instead, he replied, "Well, I'm concerned alright. It's just that I don't wear my heart on my sleeve like that impulsive moron." Sasuke grunted in pain as Itachi ruthlessly punished him. You could feel that his ribs were at least cracked, if not broken. His stomach felt like it was being crushed with each strike to it. And he was starting to see three Itachis. He couldn't even cry out in pain as Itachi held him up against a wall by his throat. "What is this difference? The gap between us is as large as ever. What the hell have I been doing all this time?" "Foolish little brother." Itachi's voice might have been monotone and uncaring, but there was no mistaking that he was scorning Sasuke in the moment. "You still don't have enough hate. You are pathetically weak. Perhaps you need something to refresh your purpose in life." Naruto watched with a considerable amount of concern as Sasuke suddenly started to scream like there was no tomorrow. Kisame chuckled without any sort of mercy. "As cruel as always, it seems he used Tsukinome on his brother." Naruto was just about to act when suddenly Jiraiya raced through a series of hand signs beside him. Slamming his hand onto the ground, Naruto watched him wonder as the entire hallway transformed. No, got covered in some sort of fleshy substance. He watched as the flesh wrapped over Kisame's feet, causing the giant man to curse. Jiraiya smirked. "Kuchiyose, Gamaguchi Shibari! You two will be made good food for the giant fire-breathing rock frog." As he said it, fleshy tendrils erupted from the flesh and moved towards the cloaked nin to ensnare them. Naruto whistled in appreciation at the offensive and defensive power of this technique. It was not only capable to attack whatever was inside, but protect as well, evident from the way that Sasuke got swallowed behind a wall of flesh. Neither of them saw Itachi close his eyes, but both of them felt the explosion that rocked the hallway. The fourth one today, Naruto absently noted as he ran around the corner with Jiraiya, eyes going wide in surprise. Jiraiya cursed in shock somehow that they were able to bore in a hole through the organ of a fog that breathed fire. He realized. "Fascinating," Naruto muttered as he observed the black flames keeping a safe distance. He had never seen black flames before in his life. As far as he knew, white flames were the hottest, followed by the blue ones and the yellow ones. Another interesting thing he observed was that unlike regular ones, this one kept on burning without showing any sign of getting extinguished. He suddenly remembered that he had teammate who was attacked by an S-rank missing nin. He turned and headed to the spot where Sasuke was buried in the guts, leaving Jiraiya to seal the flames in a scroll. After sealing the black fire, he canceled the frog mouth jutsu with a heavy sigh. He returned to where Naruto was sitting before the Uchiha, seemingly exhausted. The aforementioned Uchiha was pale, giving an absent look to the wall in front of him. It was as if he was asleep and conscious at the same time. "Wow, he really didn't hold back on you at all, it seems," Naruto muttered in slight concern as his hand slightly brushed over Sasuke's chest area. The flinch told him all he needed to know. He lifted Sasuke's shirt, observing the impressive bruises forming on the boy's stomach and ribs. If what he heard was correct, take small breaths. You don't want to aggravate your possibly broken ribs. Naruto advised him as he closely observed the pupils in Sasuke's eyes. With a sigh, he stood up. "Okay, this is how it..." He was suddenly cut off when a kunai blazed past him, lodging itself in the wall. He watched in amusement as Jiraiya's face met a blue ninja sandal. The following body screamed out, "Dynamic entry!" Jiraiya flew back with the kick, crashing into the opposite wall way down the hallway. Naruto shook his head with a resigned look. Wasn't he the one who preached how a shinobi should always mind his surroundings? "Damn it, Guy, what's wrong with you?" Jiraiya growled, rubbing his face to try and take away the sting. Guy wilted a little, bowing apologetically to Jiraiya. "My apologies, Jiraiya-sama!" Guy shouted. Naruto reflected absently that all the man ever did was shout. I had come to receive Sasuke-kun, but it seems I mistook you for an enemy ninja. He looked sheepish, rubbing the back of his head and sweating slightly under Jiraiya's glare. Whatever, you came to take the Uchiha, right? Get the kid and go. He needs to get that wrist looked at, Jiraiya said with a wave of his hand. Not just the wrist, Naruto said as he stood up. He needs immediate medical attention for his cracked, possibly broken ribs, bruised stomach with possible internal bleeding, psychological damage, and first-degree concussion, in addition to a possibly broken wrist. The last part was said while glaring at Jiraiya. Jiraiya looked incredulously at Naruto along with Guy. How can you possibly know all of that? Naruto sighed and gave a look of boredom. It's really not that hard. If you paid attention to the beating he was getting, you would see it too. The broken wrist is obvious. The heavy bruises around his stomach area usually account for internal bleeding, but you can never be sure until proper examination. The cracked rib is also obvious. I heard it. Don't you know about them being broken? Psychological damage is from the eye technique that Itachi seemingly used on Sasuke. For he suddenly started screaming, followed by transition into a semi-conscious state. The concussion is also obvious as well. If you look at his pupils, one pupil is dilated a bit more than the other. Jiraiya and Guy gaped at the thorough diagnosis. While not on the level of medical nin, Naruto's diagnosis was quite logical. Now that Jiraiya thought about it, the way that Naruto said everything was obviously told a lot about the way Naruto was used to looking at life. Logical conclusion derived purely from observation. The kid was pretty damn good. He would make a pretty good spy master, if not for his dream for being Hokage. I should see to it Sasuke-kun receives medical attention as soon as possible, Guy said as he tenderly picked Sasuke up. Moments like these, geniuses spouting off something made him feel a bit awkward and inadequate. He then raced off shouting about Jesus. Sorry guys, talking about springtime and youth. Naruto and Jiraiya's sweat dropped as the man's excessive behavior. Before shrugging it off, every ninja had their quirks and Guy was just a bit more unique than others. We're going to end this part off here. I am so sorry for all the verbal mistakes and errors that I made. Today I just couldn't read, I guess. So that's about it. Yeah, I can't read today. But we're still going to drop this part because I know this video is... Maybe you guys find some entertainment about me not being able to read. Who knows? I don't know what you guys are. But yeah, so I think I'm gonna end it here. Discord link in the description. Video will be linked in the description as well. If you guys want to read the video for yourself, or you don't like the way that I read it, that's totally fine. If you don't like the way that I read this story, no offense, no hard feelings. Read it for yourself. I hope you enjoy it. But yeah, this is your boy the Anime Ambu, and I am out. Deuces.